Hey y'all, welcome back to More with Dr. Elly, where in today's episode we continue having a conversation around personal branding. If you tuned in during the last episode, you know that we are on our cultural leadership topic. And this particular season, we are talking about you and your personal brand. I already defined what personal branding is during the last episode and also talked about the value of building a personal brand. In this episode today, we're going to talk about what is the process of building your personal brand. Now that you are convinced that it is absolutely important to have a personal brand that is recognizable, how do you actually begin to build that personal brand? Now, before I go ahead and get started, I want to go ahead and answer some of the questions that some of y'all sent to us regarding the previous episode. I want to go ahead and talk about two things in particular that a lot of you are asking about. And that is, do I really need a personal brand if I am not an entrepreneur, if I am not a public figure, if I am not a content creator? Is it necessary for me to have a personal brand? And the answer for that is yes. And like I explained in the last episode, everyone has a brand. So wherever you are right now, look at yourself and understand that you have a personal brand. So what does that mean? It means that people have a perception about who you are already. Whether you are intentional about it or not, whether that perception is true or not, people already have a perception about who you are. Now, going through the personal brand building process allows you to be able to align people's perceptions with what you actually want them to perceive. It's just a matter of alignment. And I absolutely argue that everyone needs a personal brand. And everyone needs a personal brand because all the time we are looking to influence, we're looking to share our message, our beliefs with other people. Therefore, why not show up in life sharing the kind of message and showing up in the kind of way that is actually aligned with who you are as a person? That is what the personal brand building process is all about. It's about ensuring that you take your power back. You ensure that whatever it is that people are perceiving about who you are is actually in alignment with who you really are as a person. So I want to go ahead and encourage those of you who are really unsure whether you need to have a personal brand because maybe whatever it is that you do is not necessarily public. But remember that your personal brand is not just something you build online. It's also how you show up in every single day life. How you show up every single day. That is what your personal brand is all about. And I've explained this on this platform and elsewhere, that your personal brand is really, what is the aroma that you leave behind long after you have left the room? What are the conversations that people are having about who you are as a person when you are not there? That is the core and the heart of personal branding. So yes, absolutely. You don't have to be an entrepreneur. You don't have to be a public figure. You don't have to be a content creator to build a personal brand. Everybody can build a personal brand because everybody already has a personal brand. Therefore, to align the message between what people are perceiving of you and what you really are as a person, you intentionally build your personal brand. You ensure that how you're showing up is in alignment with who you are. It is in alignment with your identity as a person, with your personal brand identity. The other question that a lot of you were asking is, what is personal branding beyond social media, beyond digital communication? And one of the things that I want to make clear for all of you is that personal branding is both how you show up in real life, offline, and how you show up online. And truly, you want to make sure that, again, the word alignment, there's an alignment with how you are offline, also with how you're showing up in digital spaces. So your personal brand is not only reserved for your personal website or LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, or whatever social media platform that you're using. Your personal brand is how you are every single day. What you talk about, what your values are, what people know you for. What are the people talking about when it comes to who you are as a person and how you show up in the world? I was having this conversation just earlier this week with a client who was asking me something similar, that, wait a minute, if it's just about digital spaces, then that's easy. We can absolutely fix that. And I was reminding her that it's not just about digital spaces. It is critically how you show up each and every single day. What are you leading with? What are the conversations that you're having on a daily basis? What stays with people regarding who you are as a person? That is what your personal brand is. And is that in alignment with the kind of message that you want to carry? The things that people know about you or who you are, the things that people remember about who you are they really what you want them to remember? Like whatever it is that you do, whatever it is that you carry, whatever your mission is that what you want people to remember? The things that they're saying about who you are they the things that you want them to remember? So for me, I'm so happy when people describe me as energetic because it is part of my personal brand. When people describe me as somebody who cares a lot about women, sometimes even in an insulting way. Yes, I am somebody who's focused on women. That is a core part of my personal brand. As someone who is intellectual, who cares about students, that is a core part of my personal brand. So I want to make sure that the things that people remember about who I am are actually the things that I want them to remember about who I am. That's what personal branding is. And you want to make sure that that's happening both offline as well as online. And you want to make sure that there's an alignment between those two worlds so that people are experiencing the same person over and over again, and not that you are different offline than you are online. Then that means that your brand is actually not authentic. Now, if you have any more questions around anything that we're talking about when it comes to personal branding, please go ahead and send us a message, send us an email, send us a DM. That way we can make sure that we actually answer your questions in one of these episodes where we are talking about personal branding. Now, like I said earlier, today's episode is really going to be focused on how do you begin to build an effective personal brand. A lot of our work at ETK Leadership Solutions is helping our leaders, especially our women leaders, our women executives, build the kinds of personal brands that are actually in alignment with who you are. So if you're looking to walk with somebody through that process, let us know. And if you are an executive, we do have our executive brand management program where we can onboard you not only to help you develop your executive brand, but also to help you manage it so that when you're showing up with authority and you're showing up with influence. Now, what is the process of building an effective personal brand? One of the things that I want to clarify, which is in step one, is that your personal brand is who you are. So the first thing is building a personal brand identity. Your personal brand identity is your personal identity as a person, just in a bit more of a strategic way. So who are you as a person? What is your story? What are your values? What are your strengths? What is your superpower? What is your mission? What is your vision? What is your purpose? That is a critical part of your personal brand identity. And your personal brand identity is what feeds into the visibility work that you do as part of your personal brand. Before you talk about visibility, before you talk about strategy, you got to understand the core of who you are as a person. There has to be that commitment where you go deep within yourself to really recognize what are you and who are you? What is the story that you're looking to tell the world about who you are? What is the mission that drives you each and every single day? And how is that aligned with the vision that you have as a person, with the purpose that you have as a person? You cannot build an effective personal brand if you don't have a personal brand identity. And you cannot have a personal brand identity if you don't know who you are, because your personal brand identity comes out of your identity. It has to be your identity. The only difference is that it is strategic. That's it. But your personal brand identity is what feeds your personal brand. It is exactly who you are. The last episode, I talked about faking it until you make it. This is a question that my students ask me a lot. Like, there's so many celebs, Dr. Conjay, that are out there faking it until they make it. And someday they do make it. Isn't that a useful tool for personal branding? And of course, as a strategist, and of course, as somebody who advocates for you to live authentically as who you are, my answer is always no. You cannot live your life with fake it as you make it as a strategy. Because one day there is going to be that misalignment and it is all going to blow up and fall apart. You want to make sure that from day one, you're building a personal brand that is aligned with your own identity as a person. So it's important for you to know and understand your story and how that feeds into your mission, into your vision, into your purpose. And of course, if you want to be really authentic, you got to understand your strengths. because your strengths are what you utilize in actually communicating your personal brand. So what are your strengths as a person? What is your superpower? So I can tell you, for me, my strength, number one, communication. Number two, winning others over. I am a people person. Number three, strategist. I'm a strategist to the very end. Number four, input. I love knowledge, I love information, and I utilize that all the time. And of course, I also have empathy as one of my strengths, and I also have maximizer as one of my strengths. I utilize my strengths to ensure that I am showing up in the best way possible each and every single time, utilizing my strengths, my superpower of communication, so that each and every single time I'm utilizing these gifts, I'm utilizing this strengths, this talents, this superpower to connect with my world. The truth of the matter is that if you don't take your time to develop a personal brand identity that is actually aligned with who you are as a person, your personal brand is going to be performative. It is going to be fake it until you make it. And one day, like I said earlier, it is going to blow up. And you want to make sure that that does not happen. Now, in the process, the second step is positioning. Once you understand who you are as a person, you understand your personal brand identity, how do you begin to position yourself? What are the areas of your life, the areas of your mission and your purpose that you want to amplify, that you want to focus on? So at this point in the step, we have to help you understand what are your personal brand pillars. Because in order for you to position yourself, you got to understand what are the pillars that you're going to be utilizing to position yourself. So pillars, for example, I am an executive coach, I am a professor, and I am a feminist sociologist and researcher. Those are three core pillars of my personal brand identity that I am then going to position based on the audience that I am wanting to communicate to. So what is my audience when it comes to executive coaching? What is my audience when it comes to being a professor? What is my audience when it comes to the work that I do as a sociologist and feminist researcher? What is my audience when it comes to the leadership advisory work that I do? So you want to have at least 2 to 3 brand pillars that can then enable you to effectively position your personal brand so that you are talking to the right audience consistently, getting them the message that you want to get them based on what you have distinguished as part of your personal brand identity. So this is when the interesting work around visibility actually really starts. It is at this point of positioning, because now that you know your personal brand identity, what are you looking to communicate in that personal brand identity? What are the core messages? What are the core pillars? And what are the audiences that you need to attract based on that work that you have already done, based on those pillars that you have distinguished? That is the second step in you building an effective personal brand. The third step in the ETK, building an effective personal brand, is communication. Now that you understand your brand pillars, you understand your audience, how are you communicating to your audience? What platforms are you utilizing to be able to communicate to your audience? It's not every platform that is useful for every personal brand identity. It is not every platform that is useful for every single brand pillar. So based on your brand pillars and based on the audience that you have distinguished, you got to understand, how do you communicate with them and what are you communicating to them about? So that means as you build your audience, you got to understand, what are their needs? What are their pain points? What are the things that you are talking about that actually is interesting to the audience that you are communicating to? So you have to know how to effectively communicate to your audience, and also make sure that you are communicating to them in a way that is aligned to whatever it is that you are looking for. So yes, you have your step 1, defining your personal brand identity. Step 2, really understanding positionality. Who's your audience? What are your brand pillars? The third step is communicating. How do you communicate to this audience, and where do you communicate to this audience? Both online and offline, right? Because your personal brand is alive online and offline. And the fourth step, y'all, is how do you ensure that you are being remembered as who you are? And in this step, what matters the most is your consistency, your tone, and the intentionality of building your reputation. So being remembered about who you are is all about the tone that you're using. It's all about how you are actually sharing your story and what you're sharing about your story, where it matters the most. It is about being consistent based on the platforms that you have chosen in the communication part of your personal brand, making sure that you're consistently showing up in that light, making sure that you're consistently sharing the same message when it comes to your mission, when it comes to your vision. That way you build your reputation through an intentional lens. Y'all, I'm telling you, if you follow this unique 4-step process that we have developed at ETK Leadership Solutions, you are going to build an effective personal brand that allows you to reach the people that you need to reach the most and allow you to live in your mission, to live in your vision in a way that is aligned with who you are and in a way that honors the journey that you're on as a person. Now, before I forget, I gotta tell you something that I told you in the first episode. Your personal brand identity is something that you must revisit. So just because you develop your personal brand identity today in 2026 does not mean that this is it. You will never have to do this work again. You want to revisit your personal brand identity all the time because it is based on your own identity as a person. So as you shift, as you grow, as you evolve, so does your personal brand identity. And you want to make sure that whatever it is that you're communicating through these steps is always in alignment with your personal brand identity as it evolves, as it shifts, because it is based on who you are as a person. I know that this was a lot, right? This was, again, we're continuing on the theory, but at the same time, we're giving you strategic steps that you can utilize in building your personal brand. And like I said earlier, if you need a bit more of a hands-on approach, we are here to coach you. So whether you are building a personal brand for the first time or whether you're an executive who needs to be more intentional about your influence, your authority, your power, and how you position that, we are here to serve you. We are here to support you. So I want to say thank you so much for listening to another episode of More with Dr. Elly. Make sure that you share this episode with anyone in your community that you think will find it valuable. Make sure that you subscribe and that you tune in on all the different platforms where you listen to your favorite podcasts. I will see you next time.